All right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another WineShark Wednesday with your host, the WineShark. Or as I like to call it, what the hell else are we going to do today except, drink a little and wonder? So, anyway, I hope everybody is doing well out there in the internet land. Hello to Dave and Mary out there from Minnesota. Welcome to the chat. Hope you guys are enjoying the start to your 2021. Today's current events notwithstanding. But yeah, it's been an interesting start over here so far. I hope everybody had a delightful, relaxing, joyous, fan-filled, awesome holiday season. I know that I got to spend some quality time relaxing with family, and got to wish I could have said it was more with friends, but times being what they are, once again, we take what we can get. So anyway, I hope that you guys had an equally good time. So today we are going to talk about a couple of different things. Well, we're going to start saying, hey, it's interesting news today. Thanks to my friend Bob for sending this little nugget to me. But it seems that Gallo Brands has purchased 30 different brand names in a 3-year bid and contract negotiation from Constellation Brands for a total of $810 million, which is a pretty big deal, one of the largest wine deals in history. Just to give you kind of some perspective, why do you care? What is interesting about this at the consumer level? What I found interesting, not just as a professional but also as a consumer, was that most of the labels are in the value to super value level of wines. Some of the labels include Arbor Mist, Black Box, Clos du Bois, Estancia, Franciscan, Hogue, Manischewitz, Mark West, Ravenswood, Taylor, Vendange, and Wild Horse. So there's some names in here that are nearly household names, Manischewitz style of wine, for instance. But we're talking everywhere from Black Box, which is a Black Box, is a exclusively boxed wine company, to some very super value labels like Vendange and Wild Horse, to mid-level grocery $10, $11 stuff like Estancia, Clos du Bois, at least the reserve levels, Hogue, Mark West. So these are interesting. The bulk of what Gallo is purchasing here is to fill out its and complete its dominance in that lower end wine space. So very interesting from a business perspective, I suppose. So interesting concept to say the least. But anyway, so that was kind of interesting news for today. But today's topic here on Wine Shark, we're going to be doing a little 2020 retrospective and kind of what's coming up and changes to look forward to in 2020. I was thinking about doing this last week during the holiday, but things got busy and I was, the thoughts were there, but I didn't have a chance really to get them on paper. So rather than short circuit it, I figured I'd give myself an extra week. So welcome back, everyone. Anyway, I wanted to start with 2020. And the first things that kind of to give any of you who are new to the channel or even new to, don't know me very well as your host, talk just a little bit about where WineShark kind of began. But as a name and as a brand, WineShark was born back in 2004 as a domain name that I purchased to explore with my own personal website designs. I picked a name that had to do with my favorite stuff, or I was going to put content on the website that was about my favorite stuff. That was wine and food and games and sharks. So hence WineShark was born. Uh, Shortly after that, though, and it started to become a paying gig where groups of friends would hire me for parties to do tastings every now and again, or family members would do the same thing, and it kind of became this sort of side hustle thing that grew and grew, and then had a substantial growth once I started doing the Renaissance Festival wine tasting at Scarborough Renaissance Festival in 2009. Got exposed to a lot bigger audience and started talking about what I did. In 2010, I became a certified sommelier with the Court of Master Sommeliers USA. And by the end of 2018, I was doing a couple of shows, private shows a month, and had hosted my first tour to California, and was, really doing it as a kind of a full-time thing. But it wasn't or hadn't done it as a full-time thing yet. It was still just my side hustle. So it wasn't until 2020 that this really became something that I had the opportunity to dive into. And so you guys, especially here on YouTube, or whether you guys come to visit online tastings in our crazy world that is 2020, kind of not only pushed it forward, but also, you know, and caused it to happen, but also was presented some unique and interesting challenges. So, oh yeah, saying hello to Mark and Betty from Southern California, and hello Miss Donna Den. Great to see you guys. So, the greatest part about this has been, getting this feeling so engaged and supported by you guys, the viewers, and my guests. I can't even begin to thank you enough about my profound gratitude that you guys have given me the opportunity. You've supported me, you've encouraged me, and you've participated in helping me live this dream that I wanted to. So that's probably the most important part about 2020 as a start, is that you guys were there to help make it even possible. So that's great, and I have nothing but thanks for you guys. The other thing was that, why did I tell the story about where this all came from? Why is that important? Well, because even with something about 10 to 15 years of entertainment experience, service industry experience, wine experience, and even small business experience from when I was doing website design for myself, there's always a learning curve. There's always some new things that happen. Life's a journey we kind of go through in a single direction, and we wish we knew what we knew now. No, there, but I think that 2020 has been a great start, and even with some of the ways that I thought things might go and the way that things are going, I'm certainly encouraged, but also kind of humbled by some of the lessons that I've learned. So. One of those includes the fact about content creation. Content creation is a weird mix to me of easy and hard. It is both easy sometimes and it's difficult sometimes. Why is that? Well, from the first perspective, from the way I see things, there are tons of ideas out there. I mean, the world of wine is a very topic-rich place. However, only a few of them that really kind of align with what I think, my particular niche and value add to the world of wine is. In other words, what works within the context of the formats that I've got. In other words, talking to you guys here on YouTube during the week, or doing online tastings, or even in-person tastings or tours. What type of topics in there are something that people want to learn and hear about from me, from my perspective? This is something that, for instance, I am far more interested in helping customers understand and debunk wine myths and break down barriers to that, to wine, rather than teaching ultra basics like, how to open a bottle of wine. Now, I've done those things, and I do certainly, when asked, I'm glad to share my knowledge. But there are a lot of wine content creators out there, and a lot of them are better funded and have done really kind of fantastic videos on some of the things that would be considered basic topics. So therefore, why do I want to retread that same ground is kind of one of my first things. So I look at things through a lens of, what do I bring to the table when it comes to that? Is there something that I think I could do better? Is there something that I have a different opinion on? Is there something that I think you guys would benefit from by hearing it from me and not from somebody else? And I realize more and more how critical that is, because it's about being a consumer advocate, about being within the industry, but looking back on the industry with a critical eye. It's not about selling you wine, for instance. I've always talked to people about, hey, I'm not here to sell you wine. I'm here to make you fall in love with wine, and that's a big deal. It helps us be critical of some of the things we see in the industry, and I think it hopefully helps my guests and customers and friends and viewers, that they can approach the world of wine with a better aspect, with a better attitude, with a with less and with less anxiety, about being able to not worry so much about things that they've heard. So that, I think, is a very important thing that I think was really magnified to me even more by trying to get this audience. And more importantly, that's because of my next point, which is growth is hard. I mean, I knew it would be. I've worked in business for a professional period of my life. I'm not a fool in that manner. In fact, I worked in marketing for years, and so I understand how hard it is to gain and grow. And that, even with that being said, the challenge of doing that same thing and while doing content creation was something that was a little more difficult than I had imagined. So, you have my apologies when things get lax, but also realizing that this is more of a creative thing and less of a professional news outlet / gathering where, we've got to meet this and this deadlines. I'm like, it's really about connecting with people, making quality content, getting the thing out there, getting the message to the right place. So again, a new good growth lesson. And finally, my big 2020 takeaway, the thing that I want to put that is kind of a negative, and again, our overall world set notwithstanding. Oh, hello to Reba and to Rob. Hello, happy New Year to both of you as well. Our old coral, how awful 2020 was in and of itself, and being restricted by and large to online venues, etc. All that aside, um, I had some pretty big disappointments within the wine industry itself. Um, I am not a social justice warrior by any stretch of the imagination, but I do feel strongly about opportunity and equality. And the Court of Master Sommeliers USA, the body which certified me as a sommelier, has had some bad missteps in 2020 in handling several issues, including racial equality, cheating within testing environments, and sexual harassment. And that it's also made me really kind of look at what professional assessments are good for, how being accredited and having that label, it's important as a barrier to entry for strangers. But I think you'll find that most of the people that have ever been to one of my shows or ever met me understands that the body of knowledge that I carry and the way that I hope to teach and educate are about what I bring to the table, and the pin and the ability to say that yes, I tested for this is very secondary. I'm very proud of it, but I'm starting to become a lot less proud of it, especially if the body that I'm a part of can't play by rules that I would consider to be a good for the world of wine, and how they can't hold themselves to a high standard. So, additionally, the artificial exclusivity that comes along with levels of certification, in other words, what it takes to become a master sommelier, is not a very healthy environment for the fostering of my personal and professional beliefs and my goals in the world of wine. And that it doesn't have to be exclusive. I'm not saying that what the master sommeliers do is incredibly hard. They study, they work hard, very hard to do things. But if you look at some of the criticisms about how the body has kept it to its small number, compared to other certifying bodies for equally difficult tasks, the pass rate for becoming a master sommelier is very opaque and very low compared to some things that you might consider very difficult. So, to say the least, one of the things I'm doing to switch to 2021 goals, that segues perfectly into ongoing education. One of the things that I've said for a while and I really want to do and need to find the time and finances to do so is I want to become a certified wine educator. So it's a different program, separate from the Court of Master Sommeliers, but again, is an accreditation to basically teach and educate around wine, which is what I found my primary love and goal is. So with that being said, I want to do some. We're going to see what other certifying bodies have to offer in their education programs, additional ongoing learning, which I think is awesome, and I think it'll be fun. And I hope to pass that value back on with the things that I learn to you guys, my viewers and my guests. So, um, the other real thing is to find and kind of clarify and deepen the niche that WineShark lives in. Now, as I said, there's a lot of wine content creators out there. And I'm not just talking about YouTube. We'll talk about that in a second. But my main goal with WineShark is to get everyday consumers to enjoy and explore wine and tear down any barrier that hinders enjoyment and exploration. That's why I said before that I would rather sit here and help you understand and debunk foolish things about sulfites and natural wines and rumors and myth than show you some of the ultra basics, which I honestly think I would point you to people that could do just as good a job, because guess what? It's functional. Those things are objective and are a simple set of steps. There's no real opinion in there about the right way to do it. But when it comes to something like, keto friendly wines, and okay, let's talk about the reality of what that means about being low sugar and how you get there. And it isn't about a label that comes along with a celebrity attached to it. Shit like that is the type of thing that I think I'm much more interested in, and hopefully that's the audience that you are, and that we will continue to grow together. There's lots of options, as I said, for learning those basics. So I may continue to do some of those, and I'm going to talk about a format here in just a minute. Next thing up, while we are here on YouTube, and I love the fact that you guys come to hang out with me or to visit if you're watching these at another time. I certainly appreciate your viewership, but I also want to state that YouTube for me is a channel and not a goal. It's something that I can use to communicate and to get out, especially in these times. And I love the platform as a consumer. I'm an avid YouTube watcher, but my goal is not to become a, say, YouTube personality. Now, it's not like if I got a bajillion viewers, I would turn it away and stop doing it. It's not like, oh no. It's more of a matter of I am using this to help communicate to you guys, and each with the earnest hope that each and every one of you could come to a show, could go to we could sit down and enjoy a glass of wine together, and we could talk and learn about the topic. Not just that barrier of of being behind the screen. I certainly also, though, hope to increase audience engagement and feedback at YouTube. I really want to hear people's comments and questions and see what it is that you guys are curious about, because I want to serve your needs. My main goal is to be of service to you, the wine consumer. So that's something that I'll be working on and increasing, and just again seeing how we can drum up that feedback. I mean, getting people to answer questions is not the easiest thing in the world, in a live sense, let alone on the internet. And so, while I'm not controversial enough to have what it would be called the true horror of internet comments, the worst we've seen is spam of porn, and some actual reasonable contents from you, my guests. All we got to do is figure out how to make that more common. So let's talk about show structures, though. Going forward in 2021, we're going to be changing up a few things. So online tastings, we're going to go to a bi-weekly format. We're going to dial away from one every week. I think the cadence was something that we're kind of getting worn out on. The audience isn't growing as fast as I want, so I want to make sure that you guys have a quality entertainment, and you feel no pressure to be out here every week. We're going to set an every other week schedule and see how it rolls. So it'll lessen the degree of topics and slow down some of the content creation that's necessary there, which hopefully then I can turn into doing some different pre-recorded content for other purposes, whether it's on YouTube or for Patreon specific stuff. Again, that concentrates that audience, and hopefully it gives people a chance to make more of an event for it. Because frankly, let's just admit, it's not like any of us need any one more Zoom meetings in our lives right now. Even if there is wine involved, it's still a pretty hard sell. I totally get it. So the other thing we're going to try and do is making and enabling easier online private online tastings. Meaning, if you just want to get with your crowd, if you want to have a Zoom meeting of your guests and a tasting where they're hosted by me, those are totally possible. You can get a group of, and I'm trying to figure out what the rational numbers are, but I'm thinking likely 5 or 6 connections is a minimum. But 5 or 6 connections between you and your friends across the country, with your family or whatever. I can arrange wine.com delivery for free. We can basically set a budget and decide where we're going to be and make that available as a customer option. So that way, if it's not convenient to be at a given Friday show, or more importantly, you don't like the people that are on the Friday shows, or you just want to just visit with family and friends that you haven't seen in a long time, great opportunity to do stuff like that. So, new show private format. Micro classes. I did a little experiment with this on YouTube, not YouTube, on Facebook back in December. It didn't really get any traction, but that's not to say that we shouldn't do it again. And what I want to do are short, low barrier to entry classes. So imagine a $5 ticket, and participation is based on whatever wine you purchase. So it's not like, so when we do an online tasting, you're usually doing 2 to 3 bottles of wine. It's $20 for a connection. It's an $80 evening, sometimes 60, 80, depending on what, plus food costs or cheese costs sometimes. So that's a barrier to entry. While it's a lot of fun, I think, it's not for everyone all the time. Plus, if I want to teach some of the things that, again, some of my more advanced guests are not really particularly interested in, things like basic wine tastings and approach the way I perceive it. Again, that's a value add, I think, from my perspective. Or, hey, we're going to do a quick show on labeling. Okay, here's how we do it. We're going to do a regional style. Let's say it's a wines of France. You pick whatever wine of France you want to go out and buy. Spend $5, spend 500. I don't care. I'll have a bottle, I'll do the examples, and I'll walk through a quick live 20 to 30 minute class that is, again, a little bit more interactive. It's not just a one-way recorded thing. We can ask questions in the comments, maybe even give live feedback, that kind of thing. So those short and easy classes are something I'd love to get going, and especially if it helps people either dial it into, what's cool on a Tuesday night, crack open a bottle of wine and do a quick tasting, or even if it's in small format, but it puts a lot of control into the guest hands, which I think is going to be a good thing. Now, the other things, of course, working within the environment of our current health crisis, we've been doing our best as far as private in-person tastings. I still and firmly believe that small groups of people you trust are the best way to handle things in the pandemic, and therefore that's something that I hope people will will leverage and take advantage of. We've also done the live shows at Reunion Tower. To wit, we have one on the 16th that I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But things like this, where we're doing our best to stay socially distanced and safe within the environment that we've got, expect to see a focus on that and finding out where the niche of that fits, because it doesn't have to be just one thing. I mean, the most popular class is a party for up to 10 people, and it's a 4-course meal with 6 different wines. We can do a lot of various things within that sense that help people, find approachable alternatives. So even if it's not a big dinner party that you want, I'm sure we can find fun things. So the Reunion Tower, hopefully that'll continue on. We've got, the questions in the air where there's Garber Renaissance Festival. We'll be having the tastings down there. And then, of course, the private tastings will continue. So rock on for all those things. And then last and least, some of the content changes and shifts within the rest of the world. As I spoke before, hopefully I want to work on some deeper content videos for the YouTube channel. Again, getting back to pre-recorded stuff with a little bit more production time and a little bit more on the deep dive of topics that, again, bring my spin to things, not just as something that you're going to see everywhere the hell else, right? I don't want to do the exact same thing. I want to do it with that WineShark flair in mind, the thing that I hopefully, differentiates me from everybody else. And then the sharing of taste notes. I've been talking about this. I've been working on it. I've been trying to figure out the format, pacing, etc. As you guys know, I contribute on Vivino, but with access to the wines that we've been tasting in the online tastings, I will be sharing those out when it comes to all the notes that I take for wines. Not reviews per se. Now, Vivino requires them to be reviewed. In other words, I have to give them a star rating, which I'm happy to do. But again, I don't put much stock in group ratings because you don't know the palates of the people. However, I hope that the information, the readable information about flavors and approach to the wine, hopefully that provides value. More importantly, for those that are on Patreon, we'll get this in a actual format that's a monthly format, and it'll include not only the tasting notes for the individual wines, but also food pairing notes that are developed by moi. So there's a good value in summarizing all those things in one place so that you can reference them easier. So another good benefit of being a patron that comes your way. So yeah, that's kind of the where's in, where's at. As Rob said, stay thankful for bi-weekly. Yeah, I mean, again, the weekly pace is tough, and I certainly appreciate all of you those who are there and supporting me all the time or as much as you can. It's just a matter of, I think that we need to concentrate that group. If it ever gets to the point where people are beating down the door and I've got to do one every week, great, fine. But if that's the scale, I think that what we'll find is that's where the Patreon benefits, doing them at your own pace and leisure, is great for the possibility as well. So anyway, let's get on to the grocery store grab. In fact, as an interesting note that you may have seen from the link at the beginning, Mark West, since the Gallo purchase from Constellation, I figured we'd review one of the wines from that particular band of grocery store level wines. So for those that are unfamiliar, the grocery store grab is our premise is to help get the best value per dollar for wines found at non-specialty and non-big box retailers. If you don't have the opportunity to have a great wine store nearby or a big box wine store that, like, say, a Specs or a Siegel's or a Goody Goody or whatever, Total Wine or more, if you don't have one of these, this is the way that most of us see wine at the grocery store, and it's a very challenging environment. So we picked the wine without prior research. Obviously, I picked a theme today, but it's not like I went and did a bunch of research in this wine. We focus on label because labels are the way that wineries can communicate to us and tell us what's in the bottle, and we want to reward wineries that do this right. So this week's selection is the Mark West Pinot Noir. Let's go over here. So this is their Appalachian California vintage. The vintage I currently have is 2018. This was brought to you for $17 list price, $11 out the door. Again, that's the grocery store markup here in Texas that you often see for club style wines, club style grocery stores where they want you to have a membership so they can keep track of their marketing data. So they're willing to pay $6 if you'll tell them you're buying this wine. But this is, in fact, an $11 Pinot Noir. That's exactly where Mark West and most of his brands lie. I've seen them on the grocery store shelves for years, but I can't recall the last time I've tried one. So we're going to give it the old WineShark try. Now, we talk about the way that we benefit from labels. One of the things we want the label to do is want to tell us, what's in the bottle, where it's made, and what does the wine taste like. The more specific in each of these three things, the better the label is as a useful function. So let's start off. I mean, you guys saw the front label there. So it says the basics. It tells us who makes it, tells us what the grape is, Pinot Noir, and it tells us where it's from. It's in Appalachian, California. It means it's a non-specific California vintage AVA, or California AVA, but then not a specific sub AVA. Okay, but AVA stands for American Viticultural Area, and that's the specific wine growing region. What this means is they're probably sourcing grapes from different locations to get a good price. Usually at the low end is the spectrum. So where you see this is that either the wine isn't grown in any one place or it doesn't want to follow the AVA rules. Now, AVAs are generally very broad. Where you usually see that a little bit more is in places in the old world. So anyway, the back of the label here, though, is usually where they have their opportunity to tell us a little bit about themselves. So let's take a read here about what we've got. This is Mark West, totally devoted to Pinot. I mean, totally. He means it. But Mark West Winery specializes in Pinot Noir, sourced primarily from California's coastal Appalachians. These vineyards provide grapes of intense fruit aromatics and flavors. Okay, so this is why they're telling you, hey, this is our whole pitch, right? It's our marketing style. The grapes were fermented in small tanks with daily punch downs to extract color and flavors. This is cool, but if you don't know what a punch down is, you're like, okay, I guess you're extracting flavor, right? Pressed lightly, gently caressed. Pressed lightly, the wine was then aged in French oak for approximately 6 months before bottling. Okay, that's a fairly, again, is 6 a lot? If you don't know, you might not know. Answer is, in this case, that's actually fairly short. A year to 18 months is considered long, but so 6 months it is. And French oak, if it matters to you, has a very specific flavor compared to, say, American or Slovenian oak. Red and black cherry flavors abound. They abound with a note of spice from oak aging. So they devoted one out of all those sentences to the flavor portion of it. They did give us some good information. If you understand how wine is made, they're telling you some of those things. They're the important things about the punch down, the aging process, what oak they're using. But again, that's wine speaking to wine people. So that's a little bit of a value there. I used to put that at a B. So what's in the bottle? We got it. The variety. It's Pinot Noir. Is it blended? No. So we don't worry about percentages. Where are the grapes grown? They actually talked on the back about a little more specific than California appellation, basing coastal appellations. That's kind of cool. And they even bothered to tell us why it's important. They believe that the fruit from these places offers intensity of flavor. Good deal. What does the wine taste like? Now, there's only that one sentence. So literally, we are getting red and a black cherry flavors. They abound, it says. Now, these are good, especially if you don't know what Pinot Noir tastes like. This is giving you an idea. Here's what Pinot Noir tastes like, red and black cherries. And then this hint of spice from the oak. Great, because it's telling you where that's coming from, which I think is good. So again, this is pretty, I wish they'd spend a little bit more nuance, a little bit more specifics rather than just red and black cherries. That's pretty monodimensional. However, it is an $11 Pinot Noir. I don't know how many dimensions I should be expecting. So let's go ahead and give it a taste and we will find out what's going on. Let's see. Donna says she's happy with whatever time I've got. Oh, so you'd be selfish afterward. No, Donna, it's okay to be selfish. It's my job and I love hanging out with you guys and teaching about wine. So anytime you've got, I'm all around. Mary and David say that Mark West is a $12 Pinot Noir and the quality matches that price point. Well, yeah, that's kind of what we're proving here, Mary and David. That's exactly right. So, to say the least, color-wise, this has a iconically, for me, I'm reviewing this in two ways, both as, understanding as a sommelier, and I'm going to be speaking to you as that, but also what you would see as a regular consumer. So, it's got a nice, clear, cranberry-like color. It doesn't have a lot of, it's not high density, it doesn't have high extraction, which, again, is totally on point with what Pinot Noir should look like. Is it well executed? Is it on style? And is it worth the money? Is our big question. Because see, what David and Mary did not answer there was the fact that the quality matches the price point. Well, I can say other things about $12 wines that punch above their price point. but this is one that matches it, you say. Well, definitely has the aromas on the cherry, red cherry, and black cherry notes. They are not lying on their label. It is a classic California, what I call a hot rod red. It's got that Bing cherry, bright cherry, open red fruit flavors. Um, there's a very hint of what I would call that cola or cherry cola note that is very common in California, especially coastal California Pinot Noirs. So again, I would know to expect this, but the good news is they told you on the label. Not getting much of that oak spice or anything on the nose yet, but let's find out whether it appears in the mouth. So, okay, continues with its red fruit. It is bright. It is open. It is not really. It's not really meaty. It's not a really full-bodied wine. But then again, Pinot Noir is not supposed to be in and of itself a great big full-bodied wine. This is light. It's approachable. Red fruit flavors come to the front of the mouth. There's a hint of acidity, but not much. Again, kind of on style for that. It kind of gets you all the way around the mouth. There's a little tiny flare of tannin, and then there's more of that what I would call that black cherry flavor that they're calling in. Yep, and it is again doesn't there's no, it's not complicated. It does what it says on the tin. I mean, as David Merrick pointed out, it does. It's a $12 Pinot that gets you $12 Pinot price. And the good news is this isn't a bad thing for a $12 wine. This is a perfectly drinkable, good example of a coastal Pinot Noir and what it should be. They're not overproducing it and they're not over extracting it. It is not something that is a run home to mother. Oh my God, this is an amazing Pinot Noir. But this is absolutely something that is on point, reliable, etc. This, by the way, is one of the things that if you're going to play at this particular level of wine, if you're going to be in that value to super value level, say anyway between around the $5 price point or around the $10 price point, reliability has to be your thing, right? Consistently delivering quality of product is your key to success, right? What you're trying to do is make brand loyal people that come in every time they go to the grocery store and always pick up a bottle of your wine or 3 or 6. And with that being said, this is a great example of the style. In the way that this tastes just like it should, for what it's worth. You're not expecting it to be explosive and nuanced and have all these amazing qualities, not for what you paid for it, but it absolutely will do the job. I mean, it's not a Hyundai, but there you go. It is in that range. So certainly, I can see where somebody like Constellation Brands has done a good job of monitoring this. But that's the other question that kind of goes back to our earlier topic. When these big wine brands own all these sub brands, where is their finger on the scale? I mean, are they simply a business owner that takes a cut of the profits, but basically lets the winery run itself the way that they want? Do they need a lot of decisions? Are they pushing a lot of stuff down from corporate down? Are they improving the qualities of their wine by offering some of the benefits of operations at scale? For instance, Gallo makes their own bottles, right? They make their own corks. They make their own screw caps. They basically top to bottom, know the product and own the whole product cycle, right? They're a big vertical, which is great. So that means you can effectively, if Mark West used to produce this on their own, if they ever were such a thing, I don't know. If they were ever an independent winery, could they produce a wine of this quality at $12, at $11? Or is it something that's a benefit of price that we're getting because they're owned by a big brand name? So always have to ask yourself that question of value. And so that's one of the upcoming topics we've been tickling around the bush, so to speak, in regard to that topic. But that's another place where, again, my personal opinion on the matter is, I think, the thing that I have to offer, as well as just some of the facts so that people understand, hey, here's kind of how it works. We've touched on it several times in the past, but I really want to dig into a little bit more about what goes into your bottle and where, how spending a little bit more in the right places is valuable, but also looking out and being able to get a barometer for comparison. As you guys know, I try a lot of different wines, but I also, even outside of the context of the show, tried a wine the other day that I brought home for the holidays that was really kind of disappointing for the price point. In other words, what I expected for it being a $15 to $20 Zin was really not well executed compared to its other kin. And that goes to show that there is a lot of variety. I mean, obviously, we've got thousands and tens of thousands of wineries, and everybody gets their different approach to the way that they make their choices. But as a consumer, knowing when you're getting the obviously, when you drink something you like, you're gonna go, oh, I really like this, I'll go back and get this for more. But on the other hand, communicating or understanding, okay, what is it about this that is off or on, so that I can either replicate or avoid it as things go forward. um, in this case, it was a totally monodimensional jam bomb. It had one purple flavor, and that was pretty much it. And it had nothing that Zinfandel is good at, and all the things that I've heard people complain about Zinfandel who don't like Zinfandel. So that's a case where we won't be featuring that in any shows because I've already learned the lesson. So maybe that's what we'll do. I'll produce a super secret thing on Patreon for you guys to go avoid this one. This isn't so hot. So it'll be in the reviews. Anywho, let's see what else is going on. Oh, so anyway, tasting notes to answer our questions. Just to summarize, is it well executed? Yes. Is it on style? Yes. Is it worth the price tag? I think so. Mark West is certainly something I can recommend. I think their labeling could get a little bit better. I'd rate it about a B plus. Again, the food pairings seem to be the unicorn of what I want to see on labels that nobody wants to put anymore. So I'm not surprised. I don't count against them if they don't. But on the flip side, if they told me 2 sentences worth of flavor words instead of one, come on, give me some nuance here. In the wine too, by the way. That's the so. Anyway, so what's coming up soon? Announcements went out, so we should have throw them under the bus. What was the wine? I'm not telling you what the wine was. You have to wait. That's why it's secret. You have to wait to see it on Patreon because for you guys exclusive stuff over there. It's our little club. Anyway, I sent out a newsletter went out I think yesterday or so. Patreon benefits will go out where we get ticket to comps. But for this month, the next show is the part deux of Will It Blend. We're gonna go to Tuscany and focus on Italian Tuscan wines, specifically those that are blended around Sangiovese. So we're gonna talk about the differences between Chianti and Vino Noble Montepulciano and Super IGT or Tuscan IGTs, i.e. Super Tuscans. And so we're gonna try 3 different wines. Sorry, but we had to do it that way. It's just a function of if I want to make this point right, we're gonna do 3 wines. So be prepared for a wild night. But it's going to be a lot of fun again to talk about tradition versus modernity and different styles of blends and the fact that the Italians are weird about the way they name stuff. It's great fun. So very much looking forward to that. Then we're going to do a wine and cheese part 8 this month. I did not have any creative zen for a different wine plus show. So we're going to do cheese again. We're going to focus on the lighter side of things though. We're going to get soft on our cheeses. And I mean gentle of flavor. Same things with the wines. And then we've got the Wines of Winter show. So it's the 15th is the show, the online show for Will It Blend. 16th is Winter Wines live at Reunion Tower. And then the 15 plus 7, and no, 15 plus 14, 29th is the Wine and Cheese show. Also, as for our Patreon members, I will be sending out the list of topics of upcoming shows and get you guys' opinions and votes in. So you guys are going to get to pick what order and what types of topics we feature for those bi-weekly online tastings. So really looking forward to all of those as usual. It's been a lot of fun, and I think that I don't really have an urge to change much with that format. I just think that the idea that we get a little bit less frequent and or private parties for crazy folks, and it'll be good. So, all right. Any other questions from the show tonight? So to throw them under the bus. I love it. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. But any other questions and comments? No, everybody's quiet. Everybody's drinking. I hope everybody's getting a drink right now. Everybody in this country really needs a drink. I mean, really, right now. Serious. I go back to the news. I'm going to finish the rest of this bottle. I swear to God. But for comments after the show, once we get the show, this and it comes up online, go ahead and comment back on there. Tell me about what you guys want to learn about wine in 2021. Many of you guys who watch the show have been customers of mine for a reasonable amount of time, and you've certainly been through a whole ton of educational process. But I'm sure there's something in there that tickles your fancy if you think about it. So please look about your fancy, find out where it's ticklish, and then tell me. So if you like what we're doing, you can go ahead and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down here on YouTube. It is always appreciated to follow us around. And oh, we do have questions. Hang on, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop my outro there because Mary and Dave have a problem. What do I think of Mark West versus Underwood? They're kind of six in one hand, half a dozen. When I speak broadly, or when I look at when I looked at the list that I was going to go for, the list I read to you today that was picked up by Gallo, I specifically said I'm going to find one of their wines and we're going to review it on the show today because that makes sense. It's a great tie-in. Interestingly enough, there weren't a ton of those particular labels. I mean, although, hang on, let me be reasonable. We've already tried Black Box on the show, and I actually approve of them as far as Black Box wine is concerned. There is no way in the ever-loving hell of this show that you're going to get me to try Arbor Mist on camera for any of you. That's just not going to happen. I think it violates YouTube's terms of service. I think the amount of swearing that would be involved would certainly get me banned. So we're not doing that. They did have a Clos du Bois Reserve, but that was kind of not the point I was making because the reason they bought Clos du Bois wasn't because of the Reserve label. Clos du Bois Reserve was basically around $18, but regular Clos du Bois is much more like this, around 10. Estancia, same way, didn't find one. Franciscan, same way, didn't find one. Hogue, same way, other than lower price points. Those are a sub $10, couldn't find one. Manischewitz, I'm sorry, we just missed Hanukkah. I can't do Manischewitz right now. Mark West, which we did. Ravenswood, I've had before, but it would be a good example. I've never tried Taylor. Vendange, I had those back when I was in college too, but again, that would be more of a try on a dare sort of wine. I like the word though. I mean, the idea that I believe it is a very cool little word they made up for that concept in wine. And then Wild Horse, which is, again, I didn't find one, but that would have been an interesting grab. So anyway, Underwood, Mark West, all of these things fall into a band, right? Where when I look at them, not only just as a professional, but even as a consumer, it's all right. Which flavor of milk, which brand of milk are we talking about here? So long as it tastes like milk and I know what the grape tastes like, can you execute to a reliable standard? And then the question I always ask myself, and this is definitely part of the price conversation, and that is, do I know of a better example in the same class within a few dollars more? If I spend $4 more, I spend $5 more on a single bottle, will I get much higher quality level? And that's the reason that, like I said, I'm a huge advocate for that $15 to $20 price point. You're going to find so many better examples than you are at the $10 price point. In fact, if you're going to go out and buy a $10 bottle of wine, you're going to have to convince me why you can't afford those extra $5. Because I'm going to try and convince you that those extra $5 well spent, even $7, are going to make such a difference in your wine experience that you're going to thank me. I mean, unless your goal is a race to the race to the 0.08 alcohol by volume to your blood, then there's no reason for you not to spend just a little more, just a little. And we're not talking about big things. I mean, so again, when it comes to real value, we can talk about what your budget is and why, but where I'm almost always going to point you towards is that $15 to $20 price point. Because even then, by the way, unless you tell me you want to spend more than 20, I know so many good names at that middle range that there's very rarely a reason where I have to go, oh, okay, you want one of those? Well, you've got to go spend $50. This is where, we talk about things like, say, Chateau Neuf de Pape. So anyway, this is why we catch up on things there. They need drink. Yes, exactly. Mark and Betty know that they need drinks too. And I have an Arbor Mist Summer's Eve Chaser. Summer's Eve. Wow, Rob, those aren't the same brand, but wow. I mean, geez. They spend a little more, avoid a horrible hangover. That's true, because I think also you'll enjoy what you get, and rather than have to, drink to forget what you got. So, but still, these middle brands aren't bad. They're like this one, like this example is a great to me about a do no harm. There's nothing great about this wine, but there's nothing bad about it either. It just doesn't stand out. That's all. And that's okay to be a C student. That's fine. It'll get C's get C's get diplomas too. But I'm hoping to point you towards a little bit better than that. Part of the focus of this show though is bringing you examples like this, where if this is what your budget demands, then hey, here are some good options. I think we've seen pretty good. If I had to review 2020 overall and look at the number, I probably should go back and go, how many thumbs ups, thumbs downs did we average on the grocery store grab? Most of the stuff we've tried has been pretty well above the board. There's only a few examples where I went, yeah, I wouldn't pay for it again, ever. And, you'd have to pay me. That's a pretty good statement. I think we're living in a time where brands like Gallo and Constellation and Antique Wines and AWE, those kind of things, they're doing some pretty. They've got a pretty good, reliable amount of table wine. This is a perfect example of what you should expect out of table wine. Even even if it is a big industry rather than your uncle's local wine company, it is much more about consistency and those what the big brands can bring in. So, all right, guys. Well, that's awesome. Any other questions? I mean, I think now that I've caught up, I'll give you a chance to sink in here. I still have to remember that there's a slight delay between when I speak and when you hear it on the live stream, because we're doing a live stream. So I'm going to watch myself in the real camera versus the stream, and then when I start talking again after that sip, I'll know you've heard me. Oh, look, there I go. It's like living in two time zones at the same time. Now, what would we pair with this Mark West? Other than, say, I don't know, an annual sales meeting. This is a gift that you would get from somebody at an open house. I'm sure that the soccer coach would provide plenty of this and an opportunity. Rob's realized that I am living in my own inception. I'm going to have to find a device that I know which one of me is real and whether it's the one in this camera or that. All right, guys. Well, like I said, we do not have a show this week on Friday. We do have a show next week on Friday. So next week, it's Tuscany Blends. Oh, we have a question. Hooray! Weird question. Do you have any good wines under $10? Well, like I said, let's qualify that good, but acceptable. I would drink it. They're no problem under 10s. Hell yeah. Again, with a known expectation that that's value I'm getting. They're drinkable under 10s. Absolutely. Black Mountain from Trader Joe's. Great brand. Has a lot of fun things for that price range. Who else? Who else is in that sub 10 range that is really worth it these days? Actually, the weird part is inflation has pushed a lot of the brands that I used to say were at that hover 9, 8, 9, 10 range, have actually pushed them up. For instance, Sterling Vintners Collection used to be about $10. Now I think it's in that more 12 range. And I think it's an inflationary issue. Seastone, says Reba Scott. I haven't tried them. They might be awesome. Starborough, I think, was a good brand. I'm not sure if they're in the under 10 range, though. This is that part where, like I said, a lot of the brands that I used to know have gone between 10 to 15 rather than sub 10. Again, it would be a lot of work to try a 10 under 10 list. But I would also find that what you get there is, if you find one, you found them all, right? One of the things that at that level that you don't get is a lot of variation or soil typicity, right? Even you're lucky at that point, even if you get typical varietal typicity, which would basically mean an average that it tastes like a Pinot Noir from this, you're not even going to get a Pinot Noir from this place. You're just going to get, okay, it tastes like Pinot Noir. If you get that under 10, you're already doing well. So Seastone was very good for the price. Yeah. Kia Ora is okay. That's a good Sauv Blanc in that. I think what that Rob said earlier was about $8 or $9, Rob. That's a great example, again, that you're going to find in there. There are a couple of major brand labels, like I said, when I thought about Sterling Vintners Collection used to be under 10, so that are second labels like that, or some of the major brand labels stick on it. So like Penfolds used to have some really reliable Shirazes that were, you know, $9, right? So things like that. Um, Other thing there is I will do a little bit of research and digging just to find out what current some of those currents are. Looking at some of my older names, but yeah. So I Reba, I'm going to tease you because you typed Bingo Verde instead of Vino Verde, and that's funny to me. See, $6 on sale. There's a wine you can get behind. I'll actually, like I said, go back to the grocery store grabs. I guarantee you there's a couple in there that at the price point were better than it. Come on, it was funnier with Bingo there. There we go. Green Bingo is actually a thing now. Okay, so we're going to do Bingo Verde. Anyway, all right, guys. Well, I love you guys' participation. Thank you guys so much. I think we're gonna have a fantastic 2021. Hoping the world gets back to some levels of reasonable. Hell, maybe we can go on a tour and drink wine together somewhere awesome. It'll be great. So I think there's gonna be a whole ton of stuff. So guys, from that on, I just want to say thank you guys very much. If you like what we're doing, like I said, subscribe, like the channel, share with a wine-loving friend. We're at that key point of growth, and we're doing really great. The 100th, when we get that 100th subscriber, we're gonna do theme parties with Flynn. And you know what? If you really like what we're doing, check us out over on Patreon. The benefits for the people over there are pretty cool. You get a little voice of what's going to happen. You get exclusive content and even discounts on online tastings and tickets. So very cool to be a part of the Patreon crowd, and it's certainly a thank you to all of those of you who support me over there. Until next time, then, guys, I have been your wine shark. Cheers. I'm now going to go over to another YouTube channel and find out whether the country is lighting itself on fire now. But, you know, figure. And the dog apparently wants to go out, so.